He's received national awards for his technology leadership, including the Fiber to the Home Council's 2005 Star Award for being a leader in broadband technology. Please help me welcome Graham Richard.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Peggy, and thank you to the Gates Foundation. I am honored and delighted to be here in Texas. And I want to share just a little story about my city as we talk about being a wired and inspired city and how broadband services, working in partnership with leadership in our community and our libraries, can help change and support the lives of those who are underserved. Let me just start by expressing a bias. I grew up in a family where my father did not have a college education, and my mother graduated from a little school on a scholarship in Ohio during tough times, Worcester College in Worcester, Ohio. And in that life of having four sisters, growing up in the 60s, it became very clear to me that reading and visits to the library were right next to going to Sunday school and to getting good grades in school. And so I grew up as a person who can say in all great energy and enthusiasm, I love libraries and I love librarians. I'll never forget the day my mother was the founder of the Friends of the Library in our city. And it was a not-for-profit group, and she said, now, Graham, you're going to come to have to hear some of these authors, and you're going to have to read their books before they come, because I don't want any son of mine to go to these lectures and not understand what you're reading. So I got into some books that I'm not sure my mother fully wanted me to read, but she brought the authors. Alex Haley was okay, but some of Kurt Vonnegut's stuff was a little testy. What do I want to share with you today? It is absolutely critical as a result of the recession that those of us who are community leaders, and I look at everybody that works with or for a library as a critical community leader, that we've got to convene, connect, and collaborate in ways that we've never done before. So I'm going to share a few examples of how convening, connecting, and collaborating has worked in our town and the struggle we've had with the Rust Belt recession and how we're working to revitalize our community, libraries being a key part of that. And then I want to conclude by offering a challenge to you, because there are great opportunities. The subject of our discussions today and tomorrow, opportunities online. And whenever there's adversity, there's a very special opportunity for each of us in our communities to seize that adversity and to move ahead in new and engaging ways. So a little bit about my city, if I might. First of all, Fort Wayne is a great city for readers and reading. We rank nationally for both books purchased and library circulation in the top 10 for size cities in the country. And I attribute that to the fact that we've valued libraries and reading. I'm going to talk more about this particular slide and the creative activities we're doing using both traditional ways of encouraging reading and online. The city of Fort Wayne is equidistant between Indianapolis and Detroit, somewhat metaphorically, geographically, a little bit politically, and unfortunately because of this recession, Indianapolis is doing better. Surrounding Fort Wayne, 500,000 people in the metro area. We have counties that have 16 and 18% unemployment. We are a city where great inventions took place years ago. The television tube, the washing machine, the magnet wire industry, and yes, the electric pig. You don't know the electric pig? Well, the Bowmar calculator was the first handheld calculator. The electric pig was renamed after the engineer who invented it at General Electric, where we had 13,000 employees working at that time. Came home and said, honey, I've got this wonderful invention. I'm calling it the electric pig. And he described it, and she said, you know, that's going to go a lot farther if you call that the garbage disposal. So this concept of innovation of how we build a community. Let me just say that while the history is deep in our community, the future has to be based upon innovation technology that we are just all hearing about today and tomorrow, and that's high-speed broadband connectivity. So in 2000, after winning an election by 76 votes, a lawsuit and a recount, I felt an overwhelming opportunity to be bold. And of course, this was a year in '99, a year before Al Gore and the George Bush election. And so what we did was to reach out to the community and say, what can we do to make our community a better place for all of us? And what we found was many young business owners telling us that we needed to have more broadband connectivity if we were going to meet the goals that we set. Very simple. Quality of jobs, retaining and gaining them, safe city, be the safest we could in the country, and to build excellent service with technology and with teams. And so what we did was to ask each of those business leaders to give ideas and suggestions. And we framed it around John Cisco's comment about what makes, John Chambers of Cisco Systems, his comment about what makes a great city. If you're going to retain and gain jobs, what do you need to do? And he says it very well. The jobs are going to go where the best educated workforce is, with the most competitive infrastructure and the environment for creative and supportive government. I'd probably use the word collaborative government. So we set about having an investment strategy in every one of these areas. Notice that libraries were right there, and also broadband. And so if you think about the convene, connect, collaborate, I hope those words will just get embedded in you, because each of us has the power to ask others to come together who don't normally come together, and try to reach for goals that without all of us working together couldn't be accomplished. This is Charlie, a friend of mine. This is his nephew. And I love this photo. Look at that smile on that kid. And it kind of reminds me of a story that was passed on to me by one of our African-American pastors at the First Missionary Baptist Church. And he told this story about a young African-American youth who was in his native village and had convinced himself that he had more knowledge than the elders, and he had to prove it. And so the way he decided to prove it was to say, I will capture this hummingbird, and in my hands I'll host this hummingbird. And when all the elders are gathered together, I will be able to demonstrate more wisdom, because if they say when I ask the question, is this bird alive or dead, I'll be able to say that I have the answer, because if they say by responding it's dead, I'll open my hands and the vertebrae, the bird will fly out. If in fact they give the opposite answer and they say, well, the bird that you have in your hand is alive, I'll pinch the vertebrae, he'd actually practice this, and stun the hummingbird to show that it was in fact not alive. So he waited for the right day. All the elders were gathered around a village meeting place, and he walked in and strode up, bold like that youngster, as proud as can be that he's going to prove that he has more knowledge than the elders. And he said, wise man, who was the wise man speaking, tell me, if you're so wise, this bird that I have in my hand that I've captured, is this bird alive or is this bird dead? And of course, the wise elder summoned up, looked at the young man, and said, my young man, that decision rests in your hands. So I feel the decision for what we do in our community rests in our hands. And the actions that we take and the collaboration that we build will be what we choose as leaders to do.